Namaste. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all.
Namaste. Welcome, everybody. So before we begin, everybody may be in different places, but wherever you are, we'll just take a moment to acknowledge the ancestral land that we're on. For many of us, we're on the traditional and unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. So just taking a moment wherever you are to give thanks to the first peoples of that land. And today, the flow of the session will be a centering practice with Maitreyi, and she'll also be guiding us through our practice on the mat. I'll be demonstrating. And then we have a special guest teacher today, Ācārya Dr. Timalsina, Sthaneshwar Timalsina, will be speaking on the intersection of yogic and tantric practice with cognitive science. From around 10:15 until we close at 11. There'll be a bit of time for Q&A with him as well. So I'll hand over to Maitreyi.
Thank you, Ross. Welcome, Urmila. I see a new face there. Nice to see you. The rest of you I know I've met before. So we'll start off with a centering practice. Typically, we learn one or two mudras or reconnect to old mudras. So for those of you who already practiced, you know the Jyoti mudra. If you're new, you can just see my palms and hands. The tips of the fingers are touching. So this is the first mudra that we're going to be practicing, the Jyoti mudra, where the tips of the fingers are touching. And then the forearms are rested on the thighs. And this position is still maintained. Now, the second mudra that we'll be doing is the Padma mudra. So Padma is a lotus, and those of you who were there in the Laws of Abundance course, looking at the forearms of Mother Lakshmi, this is held at the heart center. So we learned this mudra in that specific course. So we're going to be doing two mudras for the grounding practice. And in the Padma mudra, the little fingers and the thumbs are touching. And the other fingers are splayed apart. You'll almost feel like it's a workout for your fingers. So that's how you should feel. Of course, don't overstretch it, but just feel that there's a nice opening that's happening there. So we'll start with the Jyoti Mudra. This is more relaxed, gentle touch, and then place the forearms on the thighs, eyes closed, and check your posture. If you need to get a backrest, that's fine, that's great. And be present to how your body's feeling. Be present to your root, that is your bottom, and how your bottom is resting on the mat or the chair, wherever you are. Be present to how you're holding your body. Are you able to sit just a little bit taller, chest just a little bit more open? Shoulders relaxed. And bring your awareness to your breathing. How is your breathing this morning? Is it feeling at ease? Is it feeling labored? Is it feeling short? Again, applying Karuna Sakshi Bhava. Karuna is compassion. Sakshi Bhava, this aspect of witnessing. So compassionate witnessing, without condemning yourself if you see some jagged, rough edges, but simply gently smoothing the breath, straightening the back. Now let's take one deep breath to that, breathing in. Expanding lower chest, mid-chest, upper chest, front, side, and back. Yes, you can expand to the back as well. The ribs, or the rib cage extends all the way to the back, connecting with the vertebral column, and release. Come back to your mudra, where the tips of the fingers are touching. And there's also a connection between the palms energetically. You'll start to become more sensitized to prana. And as we reconnect with the tips of the fingers, we're also awakening, rebalancing the Pancha Mahabhutas, the 5 elements, and reconnecting to our original ancestors. So this is a beautiful mudra to release ancestral trauma. Because trauma always creates a corresponding physiological imbalance as well of the Pancha Mahabhuta. So by reconnecting and rebalancing the Pancha Mahabhuta, we're clearing this trauma in the system. So let's bring our hands at the heart center to the Padma Mudra, Padma Lotus. This one, there might be a little bit of strain. It's not as relaxed as the Jyoti Mudra. Now let's take one deep breath here, breathing in. Lower chest, diaphragm, mid-chest, upper chest, front, side, back. Just when you feel you're full, take another sip in through your nose and another sip in through your nose. And release. And be present to how your body is. Now visualize the Shiva Stambham, Shiva consciousness, Stambham pillar. Just as any pillar is the foundation or supports a building, this pillar of light supports and connects us to our infinite being. So feel yourself enveloped, filled by this pillar of light. On top, it extends to infinity. Bottom, it extends to infinity. And you're cognizant, or you're aware of your body, your breath, this pillar of light, your mudra. And let's take 3 deep breaths, anchoring this. Breathe in. Expanding lower chest, mid-chest, upper chest. Taking another sip it through the nose. And filling the lungs. Every nook and corner, and release. Breathing in through the nose. Expanding your rib cage as much as you can. You want to get into all those intercostals that hold the ribs together. The intercostal muscles hold the ribs together. Like external muscles, they can also get a bit lazy or underused. And take another sip just when you feel you're full. And whoosh out through the mouth, lips pouted. One last breath. Nice, deep, deep, deep. Expanding, expanding. Take another sip and release. And just be aware of your Padma. It's kind of turning into a bud, or if it's still in bloom. Take a moment there while you listen to the chant. Om Tadganeshaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Dante Prachodayat. Om. This is the Ganesha Gayatri to remind us of becoming the obstacle to the obstacles. Stay rooted and grounded like the elephantine energy. And to cultivate or know that we have the capacity to tap into the Akashic records or collective wisdom that's there for us, just waiting to be tapped into. Now gently rub the palms, place them on the eyes, just soothing the eyes. And softly relax. Coming back to your space. And today, usually there's an Arkaya teacher who teaches, but today I'll be teaching. And typically when I teach, I just do extempo class in terms of asking people what they are needing for the day. And then I structure it accordingly. So how are you feeling this morning? Do you want something more vigorous? Do you want like a foundational? Those of you who already know what a foundational practice is. It's pretty gentle, grounding. So in terms of the pacing, also if there are certain areas of the body you want to focus on, or certain emotional things that you want to focus on, or something with your mind, then I'd love to hear a few things. Either you can unmute and share, or you can put it on the chat. Both are valid. Yes, Asmina.
I would love a centering practice, grounding, heart-centered.
Fantastic. Thank you. Nice. Everybody's going for soothing and softening for the heart. Everybody seems to be on the same page. Thankfully, I'm not getting diametrically opposite requests. So that's great. So I think that's the theme for the day. Grief is coming up, grounding and strengthening. Okay. Somebody's in the waiting room, I think. Thanks, Ross. Taking care of that. So I'm going to invite you to get your mat set up. Woke up with some tightness in the mid-back. Okay, let's focus on the mid-back as well. Fantastic. Calming, yes, we are going to do a very calming, gentle practice. So if your mats are set up, next to your mat also get some water. I'm going to be, in the beginning session, you'll be asked to hydrate. So you can get water or herbal infusions. When I say tea, I don't mean caffeinated tea. So as best as you can, if you can avoid any caffeine, that'll be great. And if you're wearing loose clothing, we'll start. So we'll start off with a sitting position. I'm going to ask Ross to spotlight himself. We'll start with a few sitting positions, and then we'll actually go into the lying down. Then we'll come back to sitting, and then we won't do too many standing postures, just to keep it quite relaxed. And then, of course, close with the Shavasana and lying down. So we'll move within these two spaces. I'm going to ask Ross to just shake out his feet, like extend them out and then loosen them out. So you can follow Ross, you can have him as the main visual, and you can listen to my voice. And let's just thump the thighs, getting some loosening circulation. So as many of you know, this practice is called the jati. A jati is a conscious rhythmic movement. And this jati is very undervalued in the West because it doesn't look like we're achieving anything with the jati. We're just thumping our thighs, we're just loosening up. It doesn't look complicated, doesn't look spectacular. That's the word. Looks too simple, and yet it's very effective. We'll do another jati with the right arm. Hold on to the right foot on the inside and just swing it out. Now, as you do a jati, it's playful, it's mindful, it's gentle. It's like a child exploring its body. So get into that very childlike state of knowing that there are a few guidelines, but there's nothing too rigid in a jati. The guidelines being, yeah, I'm sitting tall, I'm sitting relaxed, I'm being aware of my movement, and I'm having fun. And of course, being aware of deep breathing. So feel free to use the Sukha Bhastrika, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. These long exhalations help to release pent-up, suppressed emotions. Any sort of stress is released through long exhalations. Now release that foot and do it on the other side. All of you are doing great, or at least the ones who have your cameras on are doing great. For the rest of you are also doing great. And just explore that part of your body. How are your hips feeling this morning? And there's no rush to go anywhere. The idea is to learn to pace yourself. That's the difference between yoga and exercise. In exercise, we push. In yoga, we pace. What is your pace? That's what a jati helps you explore and discover. Now let's gently the left foot down as well. And go back to the right. Or if you want to shake out before you go back, that's fine. I saw people intuitively just shake a little bit. That's fine too. Then go back. Now add your head in the mix. So let your head move in the opposite direction of your foot. So this is really wonderful for right-left brain integration. Where you move your body in opposite directions. The right side of the body connected to left side of the brain, and vice versa. Left side of the body connected to the right side of the brain. And gently release and do the other side. Again, find your pace. You don't have to follow Ross's pace. I can see some of you doing it faster than Ross, some of you slower than Ross, which is all fantastic. That's what your body needs. So within the structure of the class, we're finding our own pace. That's the beauty of a jati. Conscious, rhythmic movement. Reconnect to the inner child. And gently relax the left foot as well. And just wobble your feet again. And let's spread our feet wide apart, or as wide as we can. And let's bounce towards the right foot, like we're pushing against a wall. Can your fingers be turned towards each other, Ross? Yeah, there we go. Nice. Now gently hold on to your calves and just bounce. And just feel your back. So again, in this jati, you're getting acquainted with your back, that's lower, mid, upper back, in a very gentle way. There's no forcing, there's no pushing. The aim being to cultivate somatic or body awareness. How is my back feeling this morning? And by using this light momentum, can I ease it? So if you're doing it too fast where your back crams up, then which means you're doing it too fast. You already know the answer. So do it in a way where your back opens up. Where you feel you can sigh, where you feel you can whoosh out the breath, where you feel you can let go of all the stress that's being held in the body using deep breaths. So you should be hearing yourself sighing and making a lot of cathartic sounds as you do this light bounce. Oh. Fairly simple movement. Now let's do the other side. Push against a wall. Fingers facing each other. Nice. Feel that nice opening of your chest when you do that. Nice open chest as you're pushing towards that wall. Nice deep breathing, nice straight back. As you do this, there's a different quality of holding the back. And then when we hold on to the calves, then it's a little bit more relaxed. Here, there's a little bit more structure and straightness. Both are valid, both good for the body. Now hold on to the calves and just start loosely bouncing. Again, enjoying the bounce and connecting with the back. Which area of the back is feeling tight, which is feeling open. Again, applying karuna sakshi bhava, compassionate witnessing. All the principles we did in the grounding practice, which is being aware of body, being aware of breath, being aware of this energy that's moving through us, this pranic force, being aware of the Shiva Stambham, this pillar of light we're always connected to, especially in our practice, and we take that awareness and reconnection right through. Wonderful. Now come back to your right side. And this time, those of you who want to move further away from your calves can go towards your ankles or can go towards wherever you can reach. So a bit more of, I would say a little bit more of a challenge. And once again, remember to breathe deeply. Full chested breathing. And now just come and hold the position. So stay in that position and breathe into your back. Wherever you feel a tightness, maybe it's the mid back, lower back, And gently come up. We won't hold for too long. Let's do the opposite side, where once again you bounce. Back holds a lot of backlog of unresolved emotions, backlog of stress, and anything we want to put in the back burner, literally. Lower back pain or imbalances can indicate fear of failure, fear of future. Shoulders, literally an upper back, literally shouldering too much. Now hold your position there and breathe deeply into the back. So it shouldn't be painful or stressful as you hold the position. It should actually work on softening the back. Use the breath as a solvent to dissolve. In the mid-back, where we're playing this dynamic of getting into a power struggle of victim-victimizer. So of course, these are broad guidelines. However, they're good to see what is this backlog that we're holding. We'll take one last breath there. And gently come up, and let's bounce to the center this time. A little bit of center bouncing, pushing against the wall. Again, here your chest is nice and squared. So there's a nice structure. A little bit of workout for the shoulders as well. Nice deep breathing. Now let's bounce, placing the palms on the floor. And just bounce forward towards the floor this time. Again, opening out the back, being aware of how this momentum is helping you soothe and open up the back. That's the beauty of the jati. You can do a full class just with the jati. I can teach just jatis for a whole class without any kriya, without any asana, without any mudra. But of course, we will do some asanas and kriyas. Yes. And stay in that position. So now take a moment to stay there. Some of you are very flexible, you're coming to the floor. Some of you are halfway there. Some of you can barely move. All of it is great. Don't judge yourself. Just breathe into your back. And constantly reminding yourself of Karuna Sakshi Bhava, compassionate witnessing, where you're not identifying, justifying, condemning yourself. When you notice something about the body or emotions, there's no condemnation, just an observation. And now gently come up. And let's bounce towards the back a little bit. So again, you can see we're working the polarities on a physical level. The polarity of right, left, front, back. Again, if in doubt, you can see Ross, the fingers are turned towards his bottom. And he's doing a little bit of a bounce to the back. So he's not holding the position first. He's bouncing towards the back first. So using that bounce of a jati. So when we hold the position, it becomes more like an asana. When there's light movement, bouncing, playfulness, then it's more of a jati. And now hold the position. And open that mid-chest and that mid-back and push it towards the ceiling. Again, don't overdo if you have some tightness there. Just do your best and breathe into that nice arch. So it's lengthening and then arching. Don't hinge from your back. Always get into the habit of lengthening and then twisting, lengthening and then arching. And again, goes without saying, if you have neck issues, be mindful and gently come back. That's enough. Now let's just work on the shoulders and neck. Those of you who may not be used to all these different positions. So let's shrug the shoulders to the ears and then roll them back as you breathe out. It's a very simple movement. Let's do it all together now. Breathe in, shrug shoulders, roll them back. Breathing in, shrug shoulders, roll them back as you breathe out. Breathing in, shrug shoulders, breathing out. Let's do this to the front. Breathe in, shrug them, and breathe out, roll to the front. Breathe in, shrug, and breathe out, roll to the front. Breathe in, shrug, and roll to the front. Nice. Now let's just stretch the neck to the right and hold this position for a bit. And how is the stretch on the neck? How is your neck feeling? And come back to the center. Now let's do the left. And breathe into this region. Nice deep breaths. How can you soften into the posture is the idea here. And gently come back to the center. And shake out. Let's just nod the head like we're saying a no. So when we teach kids and we teach the Ashtanga Yoga system, we say this no is for the yama. What do we say no to? We say no to himsa. We say no to stealing. We say no to no to greed. Sorry. I was just mentioning all the Sanskrit words. So those in the teacher training go in depth into it. But the idea is part of the spiritual process is conscious choice making, saying no to things that pull us down, individually and collectively. And then yes. We call this the niyama, the pancha niyama. What do we say yes to? Yes to saucham. Yes to cleanliness. Yes to self-awareness, svadhyaya. So all these, there are 5 aspects we say yes to. So again, let's say no. Shaking the head, wobbling. And a yes. Now we'll close with an Indian head shake, which is all over. Can just mean anything. Pretty ambiguous, but pretty useful. If I have a chance, I'll send you this comedy little thing on YouTube about the Indian head shake, how it can mean a myriad things. It's quite a cute laugh. Get that head wobbling nicely. And relax. Now let's go into the Baddha Konasana. So bring the soles of the feet together and let's bounce. So Baddha is, Kona is angle and Baddha is bound. So it's a bound angle. Trikona. 3 is literally 3 actually in the English language. So Kona is angle. So trikona is a triangle or three angles. So we have the trikonasana, we have the baddha konasana. So the space between, ideally the space, there should be no space between your thigh and your calves. So it's a bound angle. Because when you're not flexible, that may not be possible. And soon the heels of your foot will come towards your groin. So it'll be completely bound. Of course, now don't force it. I'm just telling you of the ideal position. Now place your palms on the floor beside. And then bounce again. If in doubt, watch Ross. He has his palms on either side of the feet. And once again, just connect with your back as you're doing this, breathing into the back. The most important thing is to use the Sukha Bhastrika, in through the nose, out through the mouth, or using sighing breaths. And making this as relaxing as possible. Let's just hold this position. So now it becomes an asana, Baddha Kona asana. So more like a jati. When we hold the position. And gently come up. And let's do the same to the back. So again, Ross will bounce towards the back. This might seem a little awkward in the position, but do your best. Again, your fingers are pointed towards the bottom. Arms as close to each other as possible, giving yourself a nice stability. And again, be mindful of your neck. You don't want to overstretch it, or if it's a little weak. Some of you may be also hyperflexible, so be mindful of that. And see how that back is feeling, especially the mid-back. You'll feel a nice stretch. So always elongate and then arch. And do it in a light way. And now hold that position and do some nice deep breathing there. Beautiful. And gently come back. That's enough. And relax your feet and shake it out. How bad is your back feeling, Akil? Like if you're doing this, is it painful? Just a quick question.
No, not painful. This is helping too. So
Okay.
feeling more stretched out. Thank you.
Good. Now let's get on to all fours. Yeah, let's do a little shake. I can all see Ross doing that intuitively. Let's shake the wrists, the elbows, the shoulders, the head. The feet. Just wobble, 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 and whoosh out. So that was the Annamaya Kosha, physical body. Let's get the Pranamaya Kosha, the pranic body. We know in the yogic physiology or anatomy, we're not just the physical body, we also have the Pranamaya Kosha, the next level. We have Pancha Kosha, 5 bodies or sheets, or fields of existence. The second being this Pranamaya Kosha, which is where our energetic body, which is where all these emotions are floating around. You walk into somebody's pranic field, or you yourself are feeling a bit depressed, then it can be a muggy field. We don't want muggy fields. We want light fields. So let's clear the Pranamaya Kosha, get those cobwebs out and whoosh out. Nice. Now let's crawl, get onto all fours. This is again excellent to go tap in right into our childlike states of consciousness. So let's say we've had some trauma, some kind of imbalance that's happened even before we can verbalize things. So at the crawling stage of development, actually putting our bodies in the crawling supports the release of that. It also supports realignment of the vertebral column on a physical level. So if you have bad posture, then this is great. If you have any organs that have misaligned due to stress, like a prolapsed uterus, prolapsed stomach, this is excellent to put it back into position. Now stretch in any way your body feels it needs a stretch. You don't have to do what Ross is doing. Just feel into your body and say, hey, if I have a mid-back issue, you can do what Ross is doing. But if you have, let's say, a shoulder thing, stretch out your shoulder. Once again, crawl, and this time use a different crawl. You're not crawling just on fours. Use a bit more of a, you can crawl like a snake or an elephant or a duck or a whatever you choose, and see how your body adapts to that kind of crawling. A nice deep breathing. So the idea is to pace yourself. The idea is to breathe into your body. Keep those 4 pillars that we connected to in the beginning right through your practice. And then before you know it, it's not there just in your practice, but right through your day. So all these good habits get cultivated. Once again, stretch in any way your body feels it needs a stretch. So you don't have to do what Ross is doing. Tune in and find your own asana. Find your own stability. Find your own space of being. What does your body need today? Nice. And gently come back onto all fours. And let's do the Vyagra Pranayama. Vyagra means tiger. We're keeping it simple, but wonderful for the entire back. Lower, mid, and upper back, and also the lower, mid, and upper chest. So it's a full workout, very gentle. Check to see if your arms are shoulder distance apart. Feet similarly apart. Nice. Now breathing in, work from the lower, mid, upper back, looking up. Breathing out, round the shoulders, round the back, round the neck. Beautiful. Breathe in. Savor your body, savor your breath, savor every muscle in your back as you do this. Excellent. Loosen, support, strengthen the back. Breathe out. Nice rounding, rounding, rounding. Breathing in. Looking up. Feeling every muscle. All the vertebrae in the back. Breathing out. Rounding, rounding, rounding. Nice. And come to the center. Beautiful. And stretch back. So really heart opening as well, this practice. So it's kind of a all-round back, heart opener. And all that from the Vyagra, the tiger. Now gently come back onto all fours again. And this time we're going to do the Sharabha Kriya. In this, we're going to lift the right leg. So Sharabha is, Ross is already doing it. And then relax. So you bring it down, and then the second movement is the same, where we arch or round. We're not doing it now, just Ross is demonstrating. So basically, Sharabha is part man, part bird, part lion. So it's even more powerful than the Vyagra or the tiger. So it's like a bird taking flight. So the first movement alone is different. The second is similar to the Vyagra Kriya. So breathe in, lift up, head up, right leg up and head up, breathe out, bring the right leg down, and then rounding the back, rounding the neck. Beautiful. Breathe in, same right leg up, head up, and breathing out, round, round, round. Breathe in, right leg up, head up, and breathing out, round, round. Nice. And come back to neutral. And let's do the other side. Breathe in, left leg up, head up, feeling like a bird taking flight. Breathing out, round, round, round. Breathe in, left leg up, head up, feeling as powerful as the Sharabha. And breathe out, round, rounding. One last time, breathe in, feeling that nice lift in the left leg and the back and neck looking up. Breathing out, rounding, and gently coming back to neutral and going back into child's pose, Balasana. Nice deep breathing here, breathing into your back. So both the Sharabha Kriya and the Vyagra Pranayama or the Vyagra Kriya are excellent for the back. So when we say Kriya, there's a specific coordination of movement with breath. In a Jati, the movement is independent, the breath is independent. So for just shaking, you can just breathe one breath for 5 shakes or one breath for 3 shakes, depending on how slow or fast you're going. Whereas with a Kriya, you breathe in, you do a movement, you breathe out, you do a specific movement. Kriya is an action for purification, to purify us of samskaras. Samskara, sama, karana. So same thing we're doing again and again, which is conditioning. So it's a beautiful way of shifting old conditioning, old behavioral habits that are locked in the nervous system. Now let's let's go into Guru Pranamasana. So from the child's pose, so Guru Pranam is very similar, except that our bottom is lifted on the ground. Let me repeat that. The bottom is lifted off the ankles. It's in the air, and the idea is for the forehead to touch the ground. So in the Guru Pranamasana, the connection of the prefrontal lobes. You see, this is the area for reasoning, for moral development. We're grounding it to Mother Earth. Of course, we're paying our respects to the Guru, the dispeller of darkness, who helps us see our blind spots. But that becomes easier when we're grounded in this reality, when we're not flaky and disconnected. Nice. Come back to the sitting position. And we'll take a few minutes break before we come back to the Jyoti Kriya and then go into the lying down. So it's 9:51. So let's get back by 9:55, about 4 minutes break. Fill your glasses and just, get some water, use the restroom, and then we'll come back. So let's settle back down. And now we sit in the Vajrasana. I'm going to ask Ross to demonstrate. Vajra is a thunderbolt or a diamond. And we're sitting on our heels. So you can see Ross. Now the ideal position for the Jyoti Kriya is the Vajra Virya Asana. So here he sits on the toes. Now I will recommend that you don't do this for too long if it becomes painful. Now what this does is it kind of opens out the nerve endings, or it clears any sort of toxicity or blockages in your pranic pathways. So in the beginning, it can become quite painful. Now relax the toes. And then if both are not available to you, Vajrasana, if it's difficult, you can also put a blanket or roll up a towel or a blanket and put it there, or a pillow. But if you say both are difficult, then sit in the Sukhasana. Again, Ross can show the Sukhasana as well. So use whichever sitting position is most comfortable for you. Let's bring the hands in the Jyoti Mudra. We did this in the beginning, tips of the fingers touching. And then once you got the mudra, forearms rested on the thighs. So not only are you connecting to the tips of the fingers, but you're also connecting to your root. Ganesha is the Mooladhara Murti. So think of this elephantine energy. The stability of the elephant, the solidity of the elephant. The elephant is the best vahana to travel on in a jungle, before jeeps and all that, you know. So we'll take a moment to connect to the root energy, to the energy between the palms, the energy between the fingers. And those of you who've been coming regularly, you're sensitized to prana. Those of you who don't feel prana, don't worry about it. We'll just do the physical movement for practice. So breathing in, we bring the arms all the way up, all the way behind. Like you're holding a ball of light, and breathing out, we bring it all the way down. Back to the root. So that's the movement. Let's do this together. Breathe in, all the way up, and bring your arms up and behind. And breathing out, like angel wings to the sides, bring it all the way down to the root. Beautiful. Breathe in. This is a very soft movement where you're feeling the prana, replenishing the prana around you. Breathing out, all the way down. Let's do this one more time. Breathing in, all the way up and behind. And breathing out. Feel those angel wings. Sweep away any cobwebs, creating a nice Jyoti, inner Jyoti, and also in your Pranamaya Kosha. Nice light and lightness. Take a moment here, being present to the sensations between the fingers and the palms. Again, if you feel tingling, warmth, that's all prana. Magnetic field. Now we'll do the Prema Jyoti Kriya. Wonderful to open the heart, to soften into the heart. All Jyoti Kriyas are good for this, but this is specifically for that. So breathing in, let's bring our palms to the heart center and open it out nice and wide, like you're going to embrace the whole world. Think of your arms as being that big. And breathing out, bringing it back to your mid-chest and then back to your root. Beautiful. So this is the first part. Now breathing in, bringing the palms to the heart opening, and this time we're going to twist to the right. So adding another movement of twisting to the right. If in doubt, see Ross. And then breathing out, twisting back, palms to the heart and then to the root. All soft and gentle movement. Breathe in. Bring it up to the heart. This time let's twist to the left. Let's open to the left. Let's change it up. And breathing out. Bring it back and release. This opens the mid-back and the mid-chest. Breathe in. Palms to the heart and opening to the right. Feeling that mid-back, that mid-chest, all that armoring. Any sense of betrayal that's held in the mid-back. Breathing out. Feeling of being backstabbed, literally. Breathe in. Bring the hands to the heart and then to the left. Nice open twist. Beautiful. And release. One last round. Breathe in from root to heart to open to twist to the right. And breathing out. Same movements in reverse. Heart and then to root. Now the last bit with the left side. Breathe in. Nice deep, deep, full chested breath. Opening to the left as much as you can. And releasing. Palms to the heart, then to the root. And just keeping the eyes closed. Once again, observe how your mid-back, your heart, the energy between the palms are feeling. Now, all of us have tendencies to self-protection. It's not a bad thing at all. And sometimes the heart is over-armored because of trauma, because of stress. Or if you're psychically sensitive, you can feel some kind of psychic arrows coming at you, at your back. That many instances people have shared with me that literally felt spears through their mid-back or arrows through their back when somebody's very, in a focused way, sending them some negative, doesn't have anything harmonious, and they're projecting something negative from their lives onto the wrong person or for whatever reason. We won't go into that. So this is an excellent protection from that as well. The Prema Jyoti Kriya. Now gently relax, have a sip of water. And let's lie down, go into the Shavasana. We have a wonderful Ācārya from, thanks to Akhil, who introduced us. So Akhil knows him well, who's giving a talk, as Ross announced in the beginning. So let's just lie in the Shavasana. Find a comfortable position. If you need an eye pillow, do whatever is needed. And just sink into this space. This in Shavasana is very, very important. This is the assimilation. This is the absorption phase. So before we go into the Shavasana, we'll do some very gentle things. going to place the hands on the mid-chest. This seems to be the heart openers, or bringing awareness to the heart and mid-back, all tied together, front of the heart and the back of the heart. That somehow seems to be the theme. Many people have brought it up. And we're going to gently, as we breathe in, we're going to arch the back. The shoulders and the head and the bottom remain on the ground. It's a very subtle movement. So breathing in, let's just arch the back of the ground. It's like you're pushing your breasts or your chest to the ceiling. And breathing out, you're gently softening it. That's what we're going to do, nothing more. And then do some Kaya Uttana Kriya and go into the relaxation. Let's do this. Breathe in. Let's work that mid-back, pushing the chest open towards the ceiling. And breathing out, softening it back to the ground. Beautiful. Breathe in. Open the chest. Open, open. And breathing out. Breathing in. And releasing. That's enough. And just be aware of how this area is feeling. Giving yourself permission to completely let go. Now, yoga is not a physical practice, but there are a lot of new people, so I have to specify that. How it's a multi-dimensional practice for better relationship and unity. Yoga itself means yuj, union. So a better relationship with yourself, all aspects of yourself, your somatic self, the inner child, your emotional self, your energetic body, your mental field, the spiritual aspect, all of these come together. There's a nice harmony. It's not like your head wants something, heart wants something else, body is doing something completely different. We've had those times when we feel very disconnected, disoriented, conflicted, inner conflict I'm talking about. So there's a nice relationship, cohesiveness within ourselves, and therefore a wonderful relationship with others too. If it means communing in joy, great. If it means having a healthy boundary, great. But some people, if they haven't done the inner work, we can't commune too much. They'll project all that unresolved stuff onto us. So it's valid to have a healthy boundary too there. And then, of course, the substratum of it is relationship with the divine. So yoga, in essence, is cultivating or bettering our relationship. Now let's do the Kaya Uttana Kriya before we go into a nice relaxation. Let's just stretch both arms, both legs. Pointing the toes. So arms are above the head. Stretch, stretch on the floor. And release. Let's do this one more time. Breathe in. Stretch both arms, both legs. Stretch, stretch, stretch. And release. One last time. Breathe in. Stretch, stretch, stretch. And release. Nice. Now once again, place your palms on the mid-chest, connecting to that area. And give yourself permission to completely melt into Mother Earth. She is the master, composter, which means you don't have to worry about sending all that heaviness you don't need into her. She'll compost it for you. Because in return, we're grateful for her support, her earthing, her grounding, her EMF. Just like there's an electronic EMF, there's also an Earth's EMF, which is healing, unlike the electromagnetic frequency of technology. So let's tap into that EMF of the Earth. And anything that's not needed in the body, that doesn't serve us, any heavy emotions, any unnecessary or negative thought constructs, let it all melt away into Mother Earth. Let's bring our awareness to the heels and how the heels are resting on the earth. Feel the weight of the heels soften and melt away into Mother Earth. Be present to your calves and how your calves are resting on the earth. And feel the weight of your calves soften and melt away into Mother Earth. Be present to your thighs. How are your thighs connecting with Mother Earth? And give your thighs complete permission to let go, melt into Mother Earth. Be present to your bottom, the point of contact between the bottom and the earth. And feel the weight of your bottom melt away. Be present to your lower mid upper back. And give yourself, especially your back, permission to let go. Soften into Mother Earth. Be aware of your shoulders, shoulder blades, and how they're touching Mother Earth. And feel that nice softening into Mother Earth. Be aware of your arms and how they're touching the earth. And feel the weight of your arms melt away. Be present to the neck and head, how they're touching the earth. And feel this nice softening into Mother Earth. Be present to the entire back portion of your body, softening into the earth. Be present to the entire front portion of your body, front, the sides, the insides of your body. If there's anything there that needs to simply leave, let it leave into Mother Earth. Be composted and become fertilizer again. Be transmuted. Continue being aware of your body and your breathing. With every in-breath, you're feeling more relaxed. With every out-breath, letting go of all that does not serve anymore. Continue keeping your awareness in your body and your breathing, going deeper into relaxation with each breath. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om It's 10:16, and I'm just going to check in with Akhil. There, I think
Yes,
in the waiting room.
he's just logging in, I think.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. There's no rush at all. Everybody can take their time. I'm just kind of coordinating something. So yeah, I just saw him in the waiting. Eyes closed while chanting. So you can all continue to lie down. You don't have to get up right away. I think Sthaneshwar, Ācārya Sthaneshwar Ji has just signed in. So namaskaram. Namaste. So take your time, and all of you know how to get up, which means you give yourself a stretch, you gently roll over to the side. There's no rush, there's no hurrying. If you want to continue lying down, then please continue lying down. Ross is going to make a few announcements. Tomorrow I'm giving a talk at the Unity Church here in Vancouver. So it's both in person and also it's available on YouTube and Zoom. And Ross will make a few announcements about the teacher training. We'll welcome the new people here. And maybe we'll save the introductions for the end, or I don't know, usually we ask people who are new to introduce ourselves to the community, yourselves to the community, and then we can go into the talk. So maybe we'll have the introductions a bit short. So I'll hand over to Ross now to make the announcements and also to welcome and introduce the new people and also Ācārya Ji. I can't hear you, Ross.
Oh, can you hear me?
There we go. There we go.
Yes. Now we can hear you.
Yes. So yeah, just letting everybody know the Arkaya 500-hour teacher training for 2023 is starting on November 5th. And we're taking applications for that program. I'll put the link in the chat. That's a 2-year program and it's all online with Maitreyi. You can find out more on our website, which is arkaya.net. And we also have many different online programs available, and that's all accessible through our website as well. So I'll post the link to that, and you can check out any of our ongoing online programs. These community class and satsang happen every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. So we welcome people to join us. You can become a monthly or yearly member, and then you also get access to all the recordings from past sessions. So I'll put all the necessary links for more information in the chat. And if you have any questions, you can always email us at info@arkaya@gmail.com. And I'll also post the link for Maitreyi's event tomorrow through Unity Vancouver, where she'll be giving a talk, which you can go in person if you're in Vancouver or the Lower Mainland area, or you can join online as well. So I'll be posting that link for you to check out.
That's a free or by donation kind of session. So Yeah.
And as Mina's asking what time the talk is at, Maitreyi, can you remind me what time that talk
Yeah,
is?
it's 10:50 to noon. But I think there'll be some music and all that. So the service itself starts at about 10:40, I think, or 10:30. And then my talk will come in, and by noon it should be done. So it's not very, very long.
So we have quite a few new people here today. I think it would take up a fair bit of time for everybody to introduce themselves, but I'll just welcome all of the new people and say hello. And I'll introduce our special guest speaker today. Ācārya Dr. Sthaneshwar Timalsina is both an esteemed scholar of Indian philosophy and a traditionally trained Acharya in the Sarvāmnāya Tantric tradition. Dr. Timalsina holds a PhD in classical Indian philosophy from Martin Luther University in Halle, Germany. And he also received academic and philological training at Mahendra Sanskrit University in Kathmandu and Sampurnananda Sanskrit University in Varanasi. He's currently professor of religious studies at San Diego State University, and he teaches courses on Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain religious, philosophical, and literary traditions. He's also been a devout sadhaka since the age of 6. He's traditionally trained in the Gurukula system and is a scholar in Vedas and Agamas, Nyāya, Mīmāṁsā, Vedānta, Śaiva Siddhānta, Trika, Maharta, and other Shastras. Ācārya Sthaneshwar is consecrated with sarvādhikāra-sarvasāmrājya, dīkṣā, and authorized as Śaivācārya within Nepali Sarvāmnāya Order. He started his own Gurukula, Vimarsha Foundation, for teaching and reflecting on the ancient wisdom of rishis and siddhas in the modern world, and has dedicated himself to the lifelong goal of preserving classical shastric and sadhana training. I'll post the link to his website as well for Vimarsha Foundation, which is vimarshafoundation.org. So everybody join me in a warm welcome for Dr. Sthaneshwar Timalsina. Welcome, Ācārya Ji.
Thank you so much. Can I start now?
Yes, please begin. Please.
I have been in a limbo. In Hindu mythology, there is one king who wanted to go to heaven in this very body, alive, and he finds Vishwamitra, the sage, to perform the ritual on his behalf, and then he's sent to heaven alive. And then the Indra, the king of heaven, doesn't like this idea. He suspends the journey, and then he's suspended in between, neither heaven nor earth. I'm suspended right now in between San Diego and New York. And so I didn't even know what am I supposed to talk, but my friend Akhil said, Guruji, come and talk to this forum, good people. Thank you so much for having me here in your platform. Srinathadi Gurutrayam Ganapatim Pithatrayam Bhairavam Siddhaugham Vatukatrayam Padayugam Dutikramam Mandalam Viram Dvesta Chatuska Shashti Navakam Viravali Panchakam Sriman Malini Mantra Raja Sahitam Vande Guror Mandalam Sriman Malini Mantra Raja Sahitam Vande Guror Mandalam. Thank you so much for joining us here. I would like to mostly repeat what I have already said in different platforms. The first is to introduce Tantra and its application in our cognitive life. How some of these practices may be useful to enhance or to retain some of the healthy aspects of our imagination, of our memory, and the capacity of attention. And also why this may be very urgent for the way the civilization is moving forward. First of all, when we hear the word Tantra, either people get excited or scared. And the thing is, if they are excited for a wrong reason, and they are scared for a wrong reason. They're excited, whoa, this is all about orgasm. This is not Tantra, okay? And you don't need Tantra for orgasm, for heaven's sake. And number two, scared, all these spells and black magic and everything. And that is also wrong. It is, Tantra to me is a mechanism to recognize your own inner powers, the capacities that reside within your body-mind. And that allows you to harness all the potentials you have to add the potentials, to increase the potentials for a focal point to enhance the capacity of some of our cognitive activities that will also lead to our physical wholesomeness. And as a social consequence, to cultivate a healthy society that recognizes the human limits and allows our intrinsic nature to blossom. Now, the question is, what is our intrinsic nature? What do I want? What do everybody want? We all want swatantra, autonomy, freedom. And all the limitations imposed upon it, we confront. And it is not just humans, it is even animals. They seek freedom. Freedom, swatantra, is the fundamental nature of our being. And in how many ways we feel limitations? We feel limitations first within our body. Children want to run and fall. Bodily limitation. When they start running, they would like to fly like the birds. They can't. And there comes a physical limitation. They see some strong person bullying. They want to be stronger. And there is a limitation. Our body teaches us what limitation is about. And as we age and get older and older, we recognize bodily limitation more and more. And we have cognitive limitation. Many people die without recognizing cognitive limitations, meaning they know the physical limitations. They can't lift up a mountain like Lord Krishna did, or split the heart and demonstrate the divine like Lord Hanuman did, but they do not know the fullest capacity that they could know. They do not know what they do not know. That's just given. So this is the second limitation, the limitation of knowledge, the limitation on our cognitive faculties. And the third is even more subtle, the limitation in our will or volition, Ichha Shakti. Most people don't want to exercise all their potentials. What is the ultimate potential that an individual has? From the Tantra perspective, Jiva is Shiva. There is no difference between the absolute Godhead, Lord Shiva, and the individual. Ishvara and individual are the same, meaning an individual retains the same capacity if recognized that is equal to the God the Almighty, all-knowing. And so this immense potential of us is not just not recognized, but we don't even want to recognize this. We just want to recognize our potential in some limited forms. Like, I wish I could have this house or this car, or this power of being a minister or being something or the other. Just if you are hungry, all you want is have some food. So this is Tantra is about unlocking all the human potentials, recognizing human interrelationship with each other, and also the nature, because from the Tantra perspective, Lord Shiva has 8 forms. He's called Ashtamurti. 8 forms are the earth, the water, the fire, the air and the sky, and the sun and the moon, and myself. And that applies to yourself, whoever, the individual subject. So what is Shiva? Shiva is the manifest world, and Shiva is the self. There is no Shiva outside. So Tantra helps you to recognize the divine within nature. And then what that implies is that the task of a sadhaka or sadhika is to harness, to recognize these energies, to harness these energies, and to express in their fullest form. And in Tantra, when you go to the absolute teaching, there is no difference between the phenomenal and the absolute, and therefore there is no real dichotomy between the mind and the body, or matter and consciousness, because from the Tantra perspective, even the most non-sentient entity with inertia or rock is still the very manifestation of consciousness in its not recognized or unrecognized form. So therefore, everything is distilled pure energy of consciousness as the foundation, and the whole cosmos is foundationally consciousness sthiti itself, and only when not recognized, it appears as inertia, as a limitation, and then the limitations are projected within our mind and the body. And within mind, we have 2 limitations. The first limitation is the limitation of volition, wanting, and the second is the limitation of cognition. In the limitation of wanting, desire, we have 2 types of limitation. One is not wanting to recognize your full potentials. 2, to recognize your potentials in the corrupt form, to use your potentials in the wrong way, to misuse your potentials. So if your energies were to be recognized in the proper way and channeled in a proper way, there would not be any social anarchy either, because these energies are intrinsically harmonizing themselves, and only upon non-recognized aspects of energy, misused forms of energies, that these energies intersperse and ultimately cause disharmony within your own body and the mind, and also in a larger society. So therefore, the ultimate goal of a sadhaka is to cultivate that pure will, good intention in a sense, that leads us to create ourselves, to reconstitute ourselves as a good person, good citizen,
Oh, looks like we may have lost Ācārya Ji there for a moment.
Yeah, I think for a bit, but at least you can contemplate what he's taught till now, which is beautiful. In fact, I could see a few people chuckling, and I was chuckling too when he started off the talk by saying people are scared or, they're excited. And I used to give the same example, how Bollywood has done wrong to Tantra, because with Tantra, it's constantly, I'm talking about Indian movies, there's always a guy wearing black, wearing skulls and doing hroom and putting a curse or a spell on somebody. And then this black magic aspect of Tantra is very popular in India. Whereas in the West, the very sexualized aspect of Tantra is quite popular. So he spoke to that, and how Tantra is not that, but this beautiful dance of the polarities, dance and union of the polarities that he spoke about, which is what we're doing in a Tantra physical practice as well. When we did the physical practice, we work on the physical polarities, that is the right and the left. We work on the front and the back. And then we look at this dance of Shiva and Shakti. He spoke to Shiva as well, and how beautifully Shiva is not just outside, but also inherent in us, which is real Tantra. That is this dance within, like how do we create harmony within, which is what he was speaking to. So any news, Ross? Is he tuning in?
Yes, Akhil is just resending him the Zoom link.
Okay, fantastic,
yeah,
fantastic. Yes, it's all technical issues.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's, oh yes, Marie.
Maitreyi, can I ask a question?
Sure.
He had just said something that I didn't quite follow. He had spoken of our limitations of desire and wanting, and then said that is directly related to not wanting to recognize our full potential and misuse of our full potential. And I didn't quite understand that. Could you explain it more?
Maybe what we can do is we can wait to ask the questions to him.
Sure.
Because he's giving the talk. I don't want to make it my lecture.
Of course, sure.
Out of respect for him, I want him to be answering the questions.
Yeah, I thought I must have missed.
I'll just do the recap and like do the fillers when he's not around.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
No, but that's a very good question in terms of understanding our limitations, because I'll tell it in the context of the teacher training. What we do is, it's called a self-awareness program. And so we start off, there's somebody in the waiting room. So we start off by, part of self-awareness is understanding our limitations, where, energetically, physically, but also not confining our mind to those limitations. So we know that we're much bigger than who we truly think of ourselves to be. But there is a ground reality as well. I don't know how many of you have heard the stories of children, feral children, kids who are raised by, animals in the jungle. They have a lot of strengths, but when they try to bring these children raised by wolves or other animals, even small things that we think are civilized human beings, like potty training, eating with a fork and spoon, what we think is important, these children were not able to learn. So the rishis also tell us that because of our conditioning, what is happening is, like these feral children, where basic or minimum things become so difficult to learn after a particular age, we are also conditioned into those limitations. So that's one aspect of it. So we're not pushing ourselves beyond our limitations, but also knowing we're much bigger than our limitations. So in Tantra, we're constantly reminded of both these polarities. So it's not like suddenly your, mind decides, oh, tomorrow I'm going to go and lift like X kgs, I don't know, weightlifting. Maybe I want to do 100 or 200 kgs, and then break your back. So that's not what we're talking about. We have enough self-awareness to know that, yes, my body has certain limitations, but I'm also tapping into the space where I can move beyond the conditioning of my mind, which in Tantra is a very, very valid way of approaching life. And that's why, because it's so grounded in Mother Earth, so rooted in ground realities, for me, it was very appealing, the tantric path. I studied in a tantric school, and it was very practical, very experiential. It's not, like I said, it's not sexualized, it's not this black magic, but it's just a big program in self-awareness to see that, yes, where am I at? To meet myself where I'm at. And then from that space to see, okay, what are my desires? What are, the things that make me lose energy? Are these desires healthy for my evolution, or are they not healthy? And then go beyond those desires and limitations.
My serious apology, folks, because automatically someone called, I forgot to put in aeroplane mode, and then the system wanted to know I am not a robot. And that's a big philosophical question that I have not yet resolved. And as a philosopher, I had to think, whether I'm a robot or not. And that just took little time. Hope you can understand that. And many of us have never questioned, though. I had to question that. So, well, since I have anyway pretended I'm not a robot, let's start the conversation, even if my talks might sound robotic. Hold on. The fullest recognition of our strength, our energies, and what does that even mean? We do not need to seek some divine as a transcendent entity, alien to us, completely unknown, completely different from us. In the tantric world, the absolute, the divine, and us have great resemblance, and not just resemblance, a continuity. Actually, I am Shiva. I just don't resemble Shiva. In the beginning, in non-recognized form, I'll have to start with resemblance, but ultimately I am Shiva. So this type of philosophy, I would like to go to, its applications, and I would not want to drag you deep into this Trika philosophy, and for which I have Vimarsha, if you are ever interested. But I would like to touch upon a couple of practices, give a hint. I'm not going to practice here, but give you a hint on how that can be actually helpful to you in your everyday life. For what does Tantra teach? Three things we can sum up into. Number one is mantras. Besides the philosophy, the worldview, first of all, you need to have a proper worldview. When you have this worldview, then there comes the practice. And within practice, when we are talking about sadhana or practice, the first thing is mantra. We use sonic devices, phonic devices. This is basically resonance in different frequencies, in different centers in the body called different chakras, locating your mind in different centers of your own body. We stimulate by means of sound, different forms of energy. We cultivate different types of energies within ourselves. And the second thing is called mandala or yantra. And we visualize different mandalas. The deity behind me is a Kubjika with Navatma Bhairava in their Shiva Shakti or Yamala form. So there can be millions of such visualizations with the mandala, with the geometric design, or with simple deity mandala. And then you have mudras, the physical gestures or hand gestures. And then by use of these, in association to, of course, a proper channeling of your breath, the Tantra aims to stimulate your inner capacities, your mental capacities, and reorganize your energies in a wholesome way. What does this mean in our everyday life? That if you are taught in a proper fashion, every single color, like blue or yellow or white, has a different consequence in visualization. Every single form or hand gestures you visualize upon has different consequences in your body and mind. And every mantra has different frequency, different resonance, and that has different effect in your body mind. Therefore, another essential aspect of Tantra practice comes, that is the focus on a tradition, a focus on a guru, an adept. Why is that necessary? If I have all the information available, ready-made here online, gurus do not know more or above and beyond what is already encoded in these thousands of years old tradition and scriptures. Why do I need a living teacher? That is why, because like you must have heard that now, even in modern medicine, they have used sound frequency as a means of operating your brain. You know, because when they have really subtle surgeries going on, they can't even use their scalpels and God knows what the tools, because it's handheld. Even robots, you know, they're like the level of subtlety is such that any equipment is too large for using in your head or the heart. So now they're using, I have read on this, of course you have to. I'm not saying they are using mantras, please don't misunderstand me. I'm just simply saying that sound is so powerful that sonic frequencies can be used for inner diagnostics as well as inner surgeries, and therefore do not undermine the power of the sound. And just hypothetically, if you were to cultivate a different frequency than required, and you know the consequence, what would happen, you can imagine that. Therefore, you need to know how to cumulatively grow and cultivate these practices and cultivate the sound frequencies, that sonic vibrations called mantra, the spanda, the vibrations called mantras. And that is why there is so much of stress in krama, means succession, rather than jumping. I want, this is a higher practice. I'm like, you know, why to start from a lower practice? I'm the best person sadhaka there, therefore I should start from the top. And you know, that may not be very bright actually as a practitioner. And if you have ever gone to some climbing of rocks or mountains, I've done both as a hiker and tried to also climb as a climber also rocks. And you know, it is not very bright to jump the process if you have harnessed with the rope. Or I'm a very skilled sadhaka, or I'm a good Sherpa, therefore I don't need the rope. I don't think that is very bright, even if one is a very seasoned Sherpa, when you are in like thousands of feet above and lower oxygen and all. So this is why there is so much of focus on learning these things traditionally, as long as the person who is teaching is himself learning traditionally, because these days there is no lack of teachers, only we do not know whether they also had the teachers and they also had the teachers. So this is coming at a very different times. Now, the third point, actually the real point I would like to make is, can these practices have actual implication in our daily life? I will for sure share with you one Oxford paper within a month, if you stay connected, should come out. I have worked on visualization and its implication, cognitive application for imagination, memory, and attention. I will just give you 1 minute, and I mean a quick gist of what kind of arguments I'm making there. Number one, attention. I was reading, okay, this is not my research and I don't know for a fact, but I was reading that in the last 20 years, the span of our attention has gone down from 14 seconds to 7 seconds or so. We know today a lot, but our ability to pay attention to one object and be attuned to single object has decreased 50%. And if this is, why is it happening? Number one, multitasking is a modern norm. You know, I'm just giving my talk with you and maybe I'm texting with my friends. Hey, I'm not a robot, okay? So this is, you have to multitask all the time. People are driving and talking. And many of my students ask, Guruji, I have to drive for an hour. Can I do my mantra sadhana? Then when I'm driving, for heavens, if you want to stay alive, don't do that. Because you could go to inner and deeper meditative states and then you are not there to watch the outside situation of what is happening in the road, the traffic and the light and everything. So, you know, multitasking is such a norm that you also want to multitask meditation. And we are told like that, you know, you can do meditation all the time, you know, like everything, my whole life is meditation. What we have done is we pick examples from Ramana Maharshi. We pick examples from Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. And then immediately we think we are right there. If they could do it, why not do it? They are all the time in meditative states, so I can be too, you know. That is a wrong attitude. We have to have the attitude, not of an adept, but of a student. And that humility serves for a long way. Even if you are a highly achieved siddha, you don't need to declare you have such and such siddhis. Your humility will be the first sign. And there are many siddhas who have lived such simple life, never made any claim of whatsoever. Many of my gurus, I can't even come in public and start talking about that. It will be another autobiography of a yogi, and I'm so scared of turning into that mythical superhuman, you know. But I have seen things that I cannot rationally explain. I cannot scientifically justify. And I personally believe, even though I cannot logically defend all these things. So this is it, that there is this potential, actual potential, and there is the need to enhance our attention. How can Tantra help you with that? So let me give you one quick example of how Tantra can help you with your capacity of attention. First of all, you are given a spell that might sound like nothing, Om Namah Shivaya. But then we ask you to keep repeating it. And at the end, if you are a smart type, you say it's stupid. I'm repeating the same thing. I'm not learning anything new. And that is, you are not cut out to do any sadhana. Because then you are not willing to create pathways within your neural structures by a million repetition of the same thing, and then reconstitute the way your brain is connected with your body, like a different pathways are interlinked, and you know, allow your neurons to reconstitute themselves. This neuroplasticity, the big concept is that even aged person, they said, you know, after 10 years or whatever, you can't have your brain is already formed structures. So no, even if you are 90, you can always learn something new. To learn something new means create a new pathways. And for you to create new pathways, you have to repeat. In my Gurukula, I had to repeat things brainlessly. To give you one example, I have so many, but just one example. The first time I went to Varanasi, my first day in college life, I was taking all notes, and my Guruji said, "What are you doing?" And I'm taking notes. "Oh, close your paper and pen." And he was really mad. And then I just immediately closed. I thought, I didn't know. And I just listened. And then after that, after the class was over, he said, from tomorrow on, I do not want you to come with book or pen or paper, anything. If you want to study with me, just come with your head. What? For like 6 months, I really struggled because it was a very new situation. I was not prepared for that. But in the long run, what I realized is, all the college notes, now my friends tell me, be sincere though. Do you go back to all the notes you have taken? This note-taking is an easy way to transfer the load. What you want to do is you think your head has overwhelming information and you want to relay that, reserve that information. Sometimes some of the things you will quickly go through. Most of the time you are simply going to die keeping notes, just note-taking. In today on class, take notes, another class take notes, and then you don't have time to go back to all your notes. You'll just be buried under notes and be dead. So note keeping was the worst thing my Guruji taught. I can't tell that to my kids, my students here in university. That would be, what a weird professor. Another example I got was when I went for a base camp hiking with my kids 4 years ago. They kindly purchased one Kindle for me, so I could, when we acclimate and stay for 2-3 days in a place, then we could do our reading and we wouldn't be bored. And then after climbing for 3 days, when we settled for a day to acclimate, and my kids realized that I left my Kindle in America. Heartbroken, what did you do? You don't have any book with you now. Look, we have our Kindle. We are going to read. What will you do? So I will read. I have 10,000 stanzas in my head. And you guys need to open the Kindle to read. I have been reading every footstep whenever I'm contemplating, whenever you see, I'm not talking with you guys. One or another stanza pops into my head, and I think on that for half an hour, 1 hour. That is when we do the deep reading. Pandit Brajballabh Dwivedi was the foremost scholar of Agama Tantra Shastra. I went to study with him the Yoga Sutra with the commentary of Vyasa commentary. And again, the first day of the class, he said, have you memorized the book? I mean, why would I come to study with you if I had memorized the book? No. And then Guruji said, if you have not even memorized the book, why are you here to waste my time? That was a bit new concept for me. Memory, to memorize the text, had nothing to do with to grasp, to understand. And today, how memorizing is called parroting. The people who memorize are the stupid folks. The intelligent people, they all just analyze everything because all the data is out there. Wait till tomorrow. And Elon Musk, before he starts dating his own Martian girlfriend, is going to transplant some chips in everybody's head with all the data, and then you will be a real cyborg, and then I will not be able to really say whether I'm a robot or a human. That is when we should have those questions properly asked. Am I a robot? Because when you have all the transplants, like in Terminator kind of situation. So we are heading towards the type of civilization to rely more and more and more on machines and do less and less and less of cognitive activities. And what will happen to it? We have declined civilizationally on our attention span, and then that has, as a consequence, affected very negatively in our memory power, because if you have instilled memory, what you want to remember, today or tomorrow, you can have cultivated type memory. They are neutral memories. For example, you remember 2 and 2, 4, or you know 10 times 10, 100. That does not make you excited. That doesn't make you sad. Oh my gosh, today 2 and 2 is 4. What a sad day. Oh my gosh, today 5 and 5, 10. I'm so happy, because these are emotionally neutral things. When you have in your memory all these books installed, these memories are neither emotionally harmful nor necessarily positive. They are emotionally neutral. What happens if you install emotionally neutral memories? They counter emotionally positive, meaning emotionally enriched memories. When we are not installing our own type of emotionally neutral memories, we naturally are installing emotionally enriched or emotionally positive type. I'm not saying positive emotions. What I mean is emotionally charged type memories, meaning if you don't have to remember the number of your car plate, which by the way, I do not remember. I don't remember the phone number of my kids or anybody else either. So if you do not have to remember any of these things, why bother? But we do remember things. What do we remember them? Oh, yesterday you said this to me. Oh no, it was hurtful. And so I will accumulate the type of memories that are mostly negative. And that is also the consequence we are seeing in our society of the extent to which people are suffering of depression and all forms of psychological disorder. We need to cultivate healthy memory. Memory is part of our health. Memory is part of our hygiene also, meaning how to cure the memory. There is not just cultivation of memory. When you are trained to remember particular emotionally neutral entities, you are likewise trained automatically to forget. Many people have asked me, what is the evidence of the past life, since I don't remember it? And, you know, I don't remember it either, honestly. But what is the point of remembering the past life if even the memories of this very life becomes a burden sometimes? Would you want to remember everything of the traumatizing events of your life? Some of you are extremely lucky, you know, not to have any of the traumatic experiences. I have not been fortunate in that front. I had to endure, since even I could remember really the level of the stress and traumatizing events happening surrounding my life, that I am just happy I do not need to remember all them. Sometimes we do remember them. There are two types of memories now. One is the memory that is like propositional. Propositional meaning you remember the when India was independent, or you remember who was the president before this president or the previous president of the United States of America. These are propositional type memories. They also are emotionally neutral. But when we have autobiographical or lived type memory, when there is me involved in those memories, when I am an object and subject, both of those memories do actually haunt us, reconstitute what we think we are, refabricates our mode of subjectivity, and that in essence culminates into affecting our everyday cognitive life. And our everyday cognitive life is what our everyday life is, because we are not just the flesh. We are the cognitive entities. We cognize. In essence, we are pure consciousness. But this pure consciousness reconstitutes itself by forgetting within subject and object, and grasping objects as outside, projecting the world outside, and at the same time, simultaneously giving the sense of our subjectivity. And this type of bifurcation is a natural process of our embodiment. And if our memories are not wholesome, our whole process of embodiment cannot be wholesome. As a consequence, we will be living a miserable life. Tantra, even more useful, is in cultivating imagination, because nobody says, let's cultivate, let's create imagination, let's sit together and imagine. But the beautiful term, let's think about these practices in their own terminology, called bhavana, bhavayet, smaret. Now, all these Sanskrit terms, if you go back and reflect on, every single practice of visualization is called bhavana. And kalpana. Kalpana is simply translated as imagination, and bhavana is mostly visualization, is also translated as imagination. But in Sanskrit, kalpayet, Surya Chandra Masau Dhata Yatha Purva Makalpayat, I'm chanting the Vedas. So when you think of that, the word kalpa is used to create. Imagination is also creation. The ancient sages created new reality by simply imagining that reality. Oh, we can't create our reality by imagination, or then I would imagine myself to be a billionaire. I know maybe some of you are thinking like that right now. No, but the fact of the matter is, those who have become a billionaire did imagine something big in their life, and that is why they became the billionaire. Those who have been successful in politics or in academia, become a big scholar, big scientist, they imagined first being a big scientist. They envisioned that. Do you think that the engineer who envisioned, like who drafted the the bridge, just started putting the bricks and the iron together and then came up with that huge like a bridge? No. He saw in his mind first. That is what imagination is. To be able to see with your mind's eye, that is what we call imagination. Therefore, if you are trained how to cultivate your imagination, how to create your proper imagination, that will enhance your capacity, allow you to channel your energies in a proper imagination. What will happen if you are not trained to imagine? Number one, your capacity to imagine is still there. It will be dispersed and it will go dormant. Many of the capacities that are not recognized are either disintegrated or go dormant. They are not actualized. So many of our capacities that are never explored are always going either dormant or are exterminated. So this is why each of us has the same potentials to be complete, to be divine. What is the ultimate goal of the human? To be fulfilled. What does that even mean? To be purna. Purna means to be complete. Why are you suffering? Why am I suffering? Sometimes when I'm unhappy, why am I unhappy? This unhappiness comes from the edge. Like think of me as a balloon, and a little pin comes and touches me, my air goes up, I'm unhappy. I look like miserable puffed up balloon, So that is unhappiness. When you are full, you are happy. And then when you are puffed, then you are unhappy, So this is like our happiness needs fullness to feel complete. And our incompleteness comes in these three different forms of, number one, not recognizing our proper memory, not cultivating our healthy memory. Number two, not extending and channeling the capacity of our attention, and ultimately not recognizing the fullness of our imagination, that in the first imagination you are divine, and in the recognized form you are also divine. What is the difference there? One is the unrecognized truth, another is the recognized truth. Does it matter? Yes, it does, because one is not recognized. You have not recognized the fullest extent of who you are, but you have simply accepted it. Not as a faith, but because by analysis you think that you are a complete totality within yourself in a single drop. And that recognition we call pratyavijnana. That recognition will allow you to explore to the fullest form that you are endowed with, that you have come intrinsically, inherently. And for that, what is the prescription? For that, two prescriptions. One is sadhana, the practice. And for that, don't just go to Google, find a better teacher, and two, learn philosophy. For that, you can absolutely Google, learn all kinds of ideas, because you need to really explore all the possibilities. That is what philosophy is. In classical India, we never taught one single philosophy as the ultimate whatever faith. It was an openness, open-ended, nasadasit, nasadasit. In the Rig Veda, they are saying neither there was being nor non-being. And you know how that Rig Veda stanza completes, like the last verse, Yadi hava Veda, Yadi Varna Veda. We do not know whether anybody knows what is the absolute reality. Maybe there is some entity, higher being, that knows the truth, or maybe even he does not know. They were not claiming, I have the truth. These rishis are not claiming, I know the absolute truth and come and blindly follow me, and that I will, redeem you of all your sins, my dear sheep. They are not saying that. They are openly telling you, I do not know. I'm trying to realize it. I'm trying to recognize. This says Dirghatamas, again in Rig Veda says, Kasmai Devaya Havisha Vidhem. Who is that divine that we are worshipping to? He's just like God. The question, there is one beautiful book, by the way, by Roberto Colasso. I'm a big fan. He passed away. Roberto Colasso, he has a book called God. I hope you all find some time to read that book. It's really amazing, good book. It's not on yoga, but it will give you so many insights, and you will not feel like you wasted your time, maybe you will not make money when doing that reading, but it's still, very good for cultivating ourselves. Thank you so much. I don't want to just keep chatting, like talking on my own. I would appreciate if you guys have questions. And if I'm a little bit scattered, that's because of me being in Trishanku, that limbo, number one. And there are these movers down working actually and ringing the bell all the time. And number three, I had to certify I'm not a robot. So these are the things that kind of sort of interrupted in the middle of our satsang, our discourse. And thank you so much for allowing me this wonderful opportunity. And I welcome all your questions.
Yes, Azmina, please. You have to unmute yourself, Azmina.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you for such an enlightening talk. Like, there's so many concepts that are not just concepts, but things that make you want to reflect deeper. My question is that when our memory keeps going to, we go back to our trauma, our traumatic memory, even though we do so many things, we learn new things, I find that the memory goes back to trauma. And
Yeah.
in this way, what, what is one avenue to reconstitute this memory so that we don't keep going back to it
Yeah.
and living it?
I myself have faced a series of traumatizing experiences, and the way I have applied tantric philosophy of fullness, purnata, in order to maintain my own wholesomeness comes from this I would call the recall. One day I was having this really, sad memory. I come from Nepal, and in Nepal I had been physically assaulted by the Maoist mob in my classroom when I was simply teaching my students. And to think that I could be punished just for teaching is a bit painful thing for me. And when in those traumatizing experiences, if you look deeply, if you contemplate deeply, what happens is you find yourself, your person that time stuck in that event, and that whole event and the person you today are watching that person there going through that experience. And I could clearly see myself being assaulted. And what I did, why are you there? Just come back to me. I summoned, the shamans, like spirit healers, call and invoke like deities and all. What I did is in my own mind, I called that person back to myself. And because I called that person back, I did not want that person stuck in that time frame. I found that person stuck in that time frame. I kind of really said you have to separate yourself from the event and come back to today's time. And when I did that deep meditation, I found that very relieving or curing. And then how did I do that? How did I do that afterward multiple times? Was like I found myself less and less real, stuck in that, more like a photo projection. I do remember of all the events, but events themselves are not traumatizing. Like, for example, I have seen some car crash right in front of my eyes. That's also traumatizing, but not like if I was the subject being in that crash. So it is just like becomes an object. I'm just watching an object. When it becomes extremely painful and traumatizing is when a part of me is inside that event, recurringly happening that experience again and again. When I was able to pull my subjectivity out of, like it's stuck. Every experience in my mainline discourse today, I said my subjectivity and objectivity are split apart at the mode of event experience. So apply that philosophy. Then when you pull out your subject, then that subject part, your experiencing person part is loosened from the experience part, and you can see experience like an observer, as a third party, rather than a person undergoing those experiences. And so then I miss my house so much, for all the immigrants. If you are ever connected to your home front, you would understand what I mean, the birthplace, such vivid memory, and I can just go every day. And then I started looking into myself, finding myself as the person being there in those places. And literally, I call myself, like, time to move on, buddy. I just am here now, and you are stuck there in that time as another person. I'm looking into myself in the past. Imagine yourself as a banana or banana plant or the onion plant, with all the rings. So that today who you think you are is, if that is your, the core of your being, then all the past are the rings that are simultaneously existing within yourself. Now, a big topic for the cognitive scientists to think about and do research on what I just said, because all the memories are stuck here, they are lived, and they are simply making layers after layers. And how to regain our fullest form of subjectivity if all our subjective modes are buried in the history, brick after brick. We have to unearth our fullest form of subjectivity. And the people who have saved humor of their own life, who have cultivated light-hearted and generous nature in their life, you know that these old people can be really funny. My best friend, when I was in Nepal, my really best friend for about 2 decades, named Bhai Sahab, we had an age difference of 27 years. And most of you would be like feeling strange. How can you have a best friend with that huge age difference? This is, he had such a healthy mind. I could feel so good being in his company. So some people have preserved very healthy mind, who are able to separate their personality from being stuck into the modes of the past. Or hyper imagination. You want this, you want this, you want this. And then that is hyper. Sometimes, hypo imagination, hyper imagination, not imagining what you could do, or imagining, fantasizing too much. Like, some people have jumped off a cliff, by the way, you must have read about it, believing they can fly. So that is a hyper imagination that, it's just dream. And then so therefore we need to, when we are conscious about having a healthy mode of memory and imagination, that helps a lot. One thing I have to say, that as a precaution, that we are not always free and at full freedom to reconstitute ourselves, because a lot of us has been determined in the mode of our birth, meaning our genes determine many of our life events and tendencies. And then the culture, we have this different ways we are nurtured by our parents. If we are coming from the family where there is a lot of violence that we endured in our childhood, it is not very easy for us to just walk out of all those things. I am not saying you can never get rid of that, but what I mean is, there are different battles for every individual. Some of us have endured some unforgetting level of trauma, and others were lucky to not have to go through those traumatizing modes of experiences. That is why we have to be optimistic. Meaning, just because that didn't happen immediately to you, therefore this is wrong. That is not a proper attitude, because in different modes of time, different efforts you make will have different consequences. And some people who are deep down into alcoholism and all that, and it might take some time, extra time, for them to regain their mental freedom. And other people who do not have those conditioning, and they might have easy time, but don't take it for granted. The people who didn't have to live through any trauma might have lived through distorted fantasies. So this is why memories are healthy, but fantasies are not. So it can go either way. So we have to be observant and to constitute the wholesomeness. Thank you so much. Let's go for next question. Hi, Ethan, what are you doing? You don't have a question?
Namaste, Guruji. I have a
What's your
question.
question?
I have a question somewhat related. I was wondering how do you know the validity of your imagination? How do you know how real it is? And when there's so many different things coming up, how do you know what should I follow?
Okay, there are infinite things to follow, but you have to follow only limited things. As I have seen you in some extracurricular activities, if you follow everything, you are very much not following anything, and only you know what I'm talking about. So you have to learn to focus, my friend. And are all these imaginations equal? No. Are all these real? By default, imagination is not real, but imagination does have the capacity to reconstitute our everyday life, enrich. Think of imagination as Italian seasoning, not like Indian curry paste. It's a very light way. And memory is like Indian curry paste, because memory is put a lot of memory that controls a huge part of our cognitive life. And imagination is like very subtle. If you want to make pasta and put like a handful of rosemary, if like how you put cumin in Indian cuisine, and then you just dump the same amount of rosemary, no, you can't eat that pasta. Therefore, imagination has to be infused in a very light touch, not like just. So how to cultivate it? The problem is, forget about infusing right now. First challenge is how to cultivate it, the healthy one. And that cultivation becomes possible. We only train you. We give you two types of objects to imagine. One is the deity images. Another is geometric design. Some people are not comfortable with the deities because they think I'm like idols worshipping these 10-headed gods, and God knows what they are. Although they are just simply devices for enhancing our capacity, but some people have, there is this not a culture within their the way they are brought up. So we give them just simply geometric design, some patterns, like think of 9 triangles intercrossing. Why can't I just think of a single triangle? Go for it. That's where you start from, and then you try to create a good triangle, draw a triangle with your mind, in your heart, in your base, in your eyebrow, in different parts. Learn to draw a good circle. Now learn to draw a triangle and a circle. Learn to draw a triangle and a hexagon and a circle. Learn to draw a triangle and a hexagon and a circle and 8 petals around, and learn to see all of them simultaneously. Now I'm already giving you a complete visualization in a most basic form of a mandala. That's what mandala practice is all about. But again, as I said, this is emotionally neutral. It doesn't matter whether the triangle is red or blue. It doesn't matter whether yellow or green, meaning you have no emotional affiliation until and unless you say green is my God, and I'm taught to hate the red. Tomorrow we can have that type of religion too, because most religions anyway do not make sense. So, so what if red color is the color of the demon and blue is the God, and then we just go anti-red, like world. So, but otherwise, there is no reason for any emotional affiliation with colors or geometric forms like triangles. Again, tomorrow, if somebody says triangle is the representation of the God of the, the genders, or, whatever, so then that is a different story. Otherwise, these objects are emotionally neutral. And you can start from cultivating those objects. Do not take that as some kind of faith. Take that as a part of cognitive exercise. And many of these things I'm telling you are actually used by the modern cognitive scientists for experiments in the lab. And rotation, for example. I don't use the term rotation, but they teach like how to rotate, like the triangle facing down and make it up, go, like you have an object and then rotate the object, flip in your mind, see from another side. So this rotation of the object is a part of the cognitive exercise too. You do that. So use that as a cognitive device, and the goal is not about which one to stick to. The goal is about how long you can attain the same object of imagination. And tomorrow you change the object. What does it matter? You just think of the tree next to my house and keep thinking about it, and just say, how long can you pay attention to? You'll say, like, it's boring. Why do I want to pay attention to your tree in the house? So, try different objects and where you find comfortable. It's all the matter is about enhancing the capacity, not about a particular exercise. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ācārya Ji. And thank you, everybody, for staying back. Usually we end at 11, but all of you have stayed back till 11:30. So that's wonderful. I think there's one last question in the chat. And after that, I think we can close. So that's been a very wonderful and enlightening talk. Maybe I'll ask Ross to read out what's on the chat for Ācārya Ji.
Sure. It's from Renuka, who says, Namaste Ācārya Ji. In the Yoga Sutras, one of the means to tackle antarayas is yata bhimata dhyanatva. Would that be a means of getting out of our traumatic memory?
Not sure, because the point of yatha bhimata dhyanatva, meaning you are allowed to meditate upon the object of your own choice. Some of them of your choice might be wholesome, some of them might not be. As approved, one you have to say then, as has been approved by the teacher. If you translate, if you interpret the sutra that way, then it could be good, given that who is approving of your course of meditation does know what is going on and what the particular cure is giving as a meditative device. So coming out of experiences, whether traumatizing or non-traumatizing, all depends on our freedom, our capacity to enjoy our freedom. I'm just trying to sum up and go back to everything I've told you about, that we are stuck in different modes of the past and all the fantasies that could not have been actualized. And at the end of the day, what do we need is to regain our freedom, reconstitute ourselves, to get this freedom from our past, from our memories, and to cultivate ourselves as a new being, as a complete person. And for that, we are creating all these practices. So my point is, when you are bogged down to these different practices, do not miss the bigger picture. The bigger picture is you are trying to attain freedom of yourself, not just from the world, from your own conditioning, even the conditioning of your own practices. So at the end of the day, even the goal, the practice becomes something to be left behind. Like the boat you are riding, upon you crossing the river, you have to just get out of the boat, and you should not carry the boat around saying, this is the boat that I used to cross the river, So that is, just leave the boat there in the river so other people can use it. And do not hang the boat on your neck
because that is how a healthy practice should be like. So meaning, yes, we have to learn, cultivate practices, but also learn to gain the freedom from those practices when they become too dogmatic. Therefore, at the end of the day, our freedom has to confront all the dogma, including our own creation of the course of practices. Even that should not be yet another dogma for us. Thank you so much, Maitreyi ji and Akhil. I don't know where he goes, but I appreciate all of you.
Thank you so much, Sthaneshwar ji. And I think there was one more question there, the difference between imagination and intuition. Somebody has asked a last question. So I don't know if everybody wants to stay back for that.
I do not know much about intuition, but what happens is there are two types of imagination I had mentioned to you before. One is I am exercising to imagine such and so. I'm giving a course of imagination. Some other imaginations just pop up, like they just come randomly. In intuition, they just come. But not all the imagination they just come are intuition. So it's a very subtle thing to say which particular pop-up of those imagination can be labeled as intuitive modes of our consciousness, and others are just fantasies. But some are the types of imagination we exercise and we sit and we imagine, we fantasize. Others just happen to us, just come to us. But not all the fantasies that just come to us are intuitive modes of experience. What accounts to intuitive modes of experience, I myself do not know to the fullest form of how intuitive modes of experience works. I'm gonna stay there. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again, and thank you, Akhil, too, for coordinating everything, and Ross and all of you have been coordinating. So those in the teacher training, we usually meet for half an hour post the community class. So you can take this as our meet and as our lesson for the day. So thank you, everyone. We typically close with a dhanyavadaha to ourselves for making the time, making the effort, investing in our evolution. And then we can thank everybody in front of us for their collective energy, for all the wisdom they bring, even if they didn't speak, just their presence. And let's touch the earth. Thank Mother Earth, the masters, the First Nations people of the land. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and thank you all once again. See you next Saturday. And of course, those of you who are tuning in for tomorrow, I'll see you tomorrow as well. The talk is trauma, triggers, and toxic transference, how to heal them. So that's the topic.
Can
Bye-bye.
I just ask one question, Maitreyi? That book that he mentioned, do you know the title of the book?
I don't know. Maybe Sthaneshwarji can mention it.
Let me, if I can text the link, just give me 1 second, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, I like this thirst for knowledge. It's like, last minute before we go, we need the book.
Okay, give me just 1 sec. I love it. You just go not very too formal. Why do I have to be too formal? Okay, this is it. And can you guys see in the message in the chat room? Yeah, I've sent the link in the chat room.
And thank you, Sthaneshwarji, for talking about being a sadhaka. I think we need one whole kind of a session just on that, because in the West, everybody who has a yoga mat is a yogi. Nobody's a sadhaka. I keep joking in my classes. So I'm glad you brought that up. That was
Maitreyi, informally, the beautiful thing today is everybody is a yogi, and the
Yes.
scary thing is the same thing, you know.
No, I was just joking. Yeah, it is scary. It's very
No,
scary.
when I was reaching out to gurus, I can't believe I'm this single generation. When I was young and looking for the yoga teachers, and there would be like 4 or 5 people in the entire town of Kathmandu Valley, and then who have been doing these things, and even they would be so reluctant. I have not, reached this point, or this is as far as I can take you. And so many conditionings they would put themselves before accepting someone as a teacher, and they would sincerely, like, I have taught you this much, now this is the person, go to Varanasi, he will teach you more than I can, and then now we all are enlightened beings. We live in an amazing society, not just enlightened, we are among gods, like everybody is claiming I am God. Come to me. It's beautiful. We live in beautiful times. So many gods, Come, give me a hug, and I'll liberate you immediately.
Yeah, I say that too, because I'm from South India, where I studied like that as well. So I kind of joke that way too. So thank you. I know you can get that humor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ācārya Ji, and thank you, Maitreyi Ji, for putting this together, and Ross for helping coordinate. I really appreciate it. So thank you all.
We'll definitely have Ācārya Ji one more time. So we'll coordinate and we'll see how.
And are you guys in Vancouver, or where are you located?
Vancouver. So I'm originally from South India, but now I've
So because I'm gonna move to New York, I thought, but Vancouver is just as far as it ever is, even from California. So okay, all right. See you. Have a good day.
Yeah, bye-bye.